Welcome to Bullets with AWR Hawkins, a Breitbart News podcast brought to you by podcast1.com. Great guest today for the second segment, Tim Schmidt, founder and president of USCCA, U.S. Concealed Carry Association. And I'm going to let Tim tell you a little bit about his association. They've experienced a ton of growth lately, and we're going to let him talk a little bit about his association. And I've been familiar with them for a while, and I'm a member of the group. Let him talk about that, and then we want to address some things that are pertinent, such as Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court to fill that all-important seat that Scalia left behind, and also we'll talk a little bit about national reciprocity. But first, Tim, great to be with us, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what USCCA is and what it does?
Sure, of course. First of all, AWR, it's great to be here. I certainly appreciate you letting me come on your show. And we were just talking. It was so nice to meet you face to face at the SHOT Show in Vegas recently. It's always nice to meet a good fellow American face to face. So, yep, the USCCA truly is. It's a passion in my life. I started in 2003. So imagine this: in 2003, there are absolutely zero members, zero customers, zero responsibly armed Americans being influenced by the USCCA. And now, just a little bit over 13 years later, there's literally almost 200,000 members, and it is just an honor to lead this group of people. So one of the things we talk about at the USCCA is we're all about education, training, and then making sure people have a legal and financial backup plan for when they're in that situation. They have to use their gun to defend themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's a fantastic journey, and it's just been a really, really eye-opening and exciting experience to help people down that journey of self-defense.
That's awesome. That's all. Now, what specifically does your group do? If someone's listening, they go, well, 200,000 members, but to what end? What does the group do?
Yep. So we first we provide the education aspect of being a responsibly armed citizen. We do that through a magazine that we publish. We publish all sorts of books and DVDs to help people that are just going down that path of what does it take to be a responsibly armed citizen? How do I select a gun? How do I to choose the right holster? How do I know where I can and can't carry a gun? And then the next step is the training, right? Because training is just like eating and sleeping. It works best if you do it on a regular basis. And so we have over 1,000 instructors all across the country that teach our members, that go take them through training courses and really make sure that they can actually do what they need to do when the time counts. And the last component is having the legal and financial backup plan, and that really comes down to our self-defense shield, self-defense liability insurance. And what that does is, if you're in a situation where you have to use that gun, chances are there's going to be criminal proceedings and civil suits, and we make sure you've got the best attorney along with a whole bunch of money to back it up.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, and that's a great service. Tim, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about Trump's Supreme Court nominee. Now, I was thrilled to see that we have a pro-gun nominee, but I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't want to say what you may be planning to say. So you're the guest. You tell us, when he put forth the nominee, what was your take? Where do you believe we are now? What do you think we need to do? Those kinds of things.
Sure. Well, I think I can speak for almost all gun owners in the U.S. We all were relieved when Trump got elected, and then we've all been kind of holding our breath, just hoping that he selects a good Supreme Court nominee too. Like you mentioned before, I mean, this guy's going to be replacing Antonin Scalia, which was probably one of the finest pro-gun Supreme Court justices that ever existed, and so I think I can speak for everyone saying that we all breathed a huge sigh of relief when we saw that Trump had selected or had nominated Neil Gorsuch. So Neil he's a fantastic originalist. So he truly believes that the Constitution doesn't need to be interpreted. It says what it says. And if we look at all of Neil Gorsuch's his past and all of the rulings that he's made, I feel very confident that he is going to continue to uphold the concept that that the right to keep and bear arms is actually a natural-born right that's simply affirmed by the Second Amendment to our Constitution. So, what do we need to do? We need to make sure that we put that Neil Gorsuch gets confirmed as soon as possible, and let's just cross our fingers that happens.
Right. I agree. There are a lot of cases that could make their way to the Supreme Court that, especially if they come out of the Ninth Circuit, then we don't want them to go to the Supreme Court and result in a tie, because that would uphold the Ninth Circuit decision. That's what listeners have to understand. We like gridlock. Our founding fathers liked gridlock. It keeps the government from doing things. But with all of these anti-gun judgments coming out of places, I just keep saying, like the Ninth Circuit, the next stop for one of those cases is the Supreme Court. We don't want to go there and get a 4-4 decision, because that makes the Ninth Circuit ruling binding. What we want is for them to go there, for us to have a strong replacement for Scalia, and 5-4, hopefully 6-3, we just start overturning these lower cases against gun rights. And to me, that's what I see, Tim. I think we have that opportunity with the nominee that Trump has put forward.
Sure, AWR. Well, the good thing is that this is a reciprocity bill. It's not a national concealed carry bill. There's a lot of people that get really nervous about any time the federal government gets involved really in anything, and that's good. I mean, they should get nervous, but this is essentially the federal government telling the states that, look, you have to respect all of the other states' concealed carry permit. Right now, as you know, it is a labyrinth of just a legal nightmare trying to understand where you can and can't go with your state's concealed carry permit. And quite frankly, considering that the right of self-defense is an inalienable natural-born right, it's absolutely crazy that's the way it works. So I personally think that the bill that's out there right now is perfect, it's fantastic, and it's going to go really far to improving all of our freedom.
I agree with you. I agree 100%, And I've thought about this a number of times. I think about the single mom who might be traveling across Chicago who has a permit in another state, but because Illinois will only recognize carry permits from their state, when that single mom travels through, and perhaps with her kids, she has to travel through a city that is controlled by gangs, and she has to do it unarmed, Tim. It makes no sense. This bill will fix that.
Yeah, exactly. It'll fix that, and it'll also fix the situations like what happened to one of our fellow members. This guy, he works in Pennsylvania, and he was working on a job site, and he had to travel through New Jersey for about 3 minutes. Like one of the freeways just kind of swept through New Jersey, and he's like, oh man, he's got his gun on him, and so he decides that, all right, I'm gonna chance it, and because otherwise he would have had to reroute probably 30 miles out of his way. So as he's on that 3-minute stretch of freeway through New Jersey, what happens? Well, he sees someone on the side of the road that needs help, right? So he's a good Samaritan. He's a good guy. He pulls over. As he pulls over to, gets out of his truck and he's helping this poor woman change a tire, someone smashes into his truck, and now the police show up and he gets carted off to jail. I mean, what the heck?
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous. See, and this is what's going to happen, and you know it. A lot of people don't think about it, but with national reciprocity, not only are we going to fix the patchwork of laws that is so silly, not only are we going to have uniformity, but a lot of these local gun control laws that cities and states have still held on to, I shouldn't say states, but that cities and municipalities have held on to, they're all going to be done away because they're going to have to come in line with national reciprocity. In California, where they won't recognize another permit except their own, they're going to have to let folks from Arizona and Utah and Nevada carry in that state, and that's going to be good news for law-abiding citizens.
Oh, that's going to be great news. And honestly, I hadn't even thought of that perspective, AWR. That's a great point. And the silly thing about about what we're talking about here is that the only people that follow these crazy concealed carry rules, you know who they are? They're the law-abiding, responsibly armed citizens that no one should be afraid of.
Right. And
all the colonels out there, they don't even know about these laws. They just do whatever they want.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I mean, the thing is, the law-abiding citizen is, because he abides by the law, he's unarmed. And that's, whether we're talking about, we see that in gun-free zones, and we know that's so prominent, so easy to point out. But it's also true in these various states with all these various laws on concealed carry, it forces it criminalizes the law-abiding citizen if they do anything to defend themselves, and we've got to change that. Now, let me ask you this: we have the nomination of Gorsuch, we have national reciprocity. I believe, Tim, that we're finally going to get, whereas we had 8 years on defense, I believe we're going to get 8 years where we might even be able to go on offense a little bit and get some things done. The things you and I have discussed are good things. I mean, do you feel that? What's your take from where you're sitting, as you look at the Trump administration and going forward?
Man, my take is that, I mean, first of all, how good does it feel to be able to talk like this?
Right.
Actually being optimistic about our gun rights moving forward, because we should be. And the exciting thing is over the last, since 2014, in general, gun ownership is up 37.5% across the country. And here's another stat that's going to blow your mind. This is going to put a big smile on your face. Over the last 8 years, right, so essentially the entire reign of Obama, concealed carry permits have increased 215%. And so on top of the fact that even amidst all of these onerous gun control laws, Americans are taking more to guns. They're realizing that the gun ownership, responsible gun ownership, is really the smart choice. And so now you stack on top of that now we have a fantastic pro-gun president. Plus now we've got a Supreme Court justice that we both feel confident is going to be a great replacement for Scalia. Man, it's looking like nothing but rainbows and butterflies.
Oh man, rainbows and butterflies. I love that. Here's the thing, Tim. I want listeners to think about what you just said, though, because ultimately, all of these opportunities come down to the individual citizen understanding that defense lies in his or her hands. That gun in your truck, on your side, by your bed, that's both your first and last line of defense in many cases. And so what I want to do to listeners, I want to say this, and I know Tim and I know Kevin, who is with Tim, Kevin Michalowski. I know him really well. These are good guys. Go to their website. Go check out USCCA and see what they're doing. And maybe after you acquire your firearm, one of your next steps is going to be to do some reading there and find out, well, what's next? How do I learn this aspect of the safety features of shooting or of carrying or whatever it is? So I encourage listeners to go and check out Tim's organization. There's so much that you can learn there. And because our job, once we have a gun, folks, when you get the gun, you've taken the important step, but then there's the crucial step of being acquainted with it, knowing where the bullets go when you pull the trigger, and knowing when you can use those bullets. You have to know when you can do it. So, Tim, thank you for taking time to be with us. I know you're busy, and thanks for the time.
Hey, my pleasure, AWR. Always an honor to be on your show. Take care, man.
Thank you. And this is Bullets with AWR Hawkins, a Breitbart News podcast brought to you by PodcastOne.com.